our headlines for this evening. Locally, near 40 persons participate in workshop at Emergency Operations Center, and Minister Brantley highlights achievements. The details are straight ahead. Good evening and welcome to the Nevis Newscast for today, Thursday, January 29th, 2015. I am Bronte Swanston Hendrickson. Near 40 persons were being trained today in a workshop held at the Emergency Operations Center at Long Point. Fredecia Liburd has the details in this report.
The Nevis Disaster Management Department is hosting a two-day emergency operations workshop, which started today, Thursday, January 29th, at its center at Long Point. One of the facilitators is Operations Specialist Retired Brigadier General Earl Arthurs of the Caribbean Disaster Emergency Management Agency, CDEMA.
Our method of training is going to be presentation, discussion, and then practice. So again, if you miss out on the presentation part, you'll catch up when we do the practice. We look forward to doing a lot of practical work here. We have a functional exercise at the end. At the end, we are going to configure ourselves into the EOC and divide ourselves into two groups. One group will observe the second group going through their PSAs. Then they take over from that group, and the second group is going to go through their PSAs. So everybody will get an opportunity to practice what they have just been taught. Having said that, we look forward to having a successful workshop. I'll say no more at this, but I think that down the road, you'll hear a lot more from me. So put your heads and your heart into it, and at the end, we'll have a good EOC training.
Speaking on behalf of the Nevis Island Administration was Permanent Secretary in the Premier's Ministry, Wakely Daniel.
At the end of this workshop, this preparation workshop, from what I've been told, each and every one of you here should be able to give the role of the EOC. You should become familiar with the design of the EOC, how to manage it, and to operate an EOC. I'm heartened that a workshop of this nature has been brought to our shores because it bodes well for us. It helps us in our preparation schedule, and it certainly increases our preparedness effort. Let me, at this juncture, thank all of the agencies who have made this workshop a reality. Let me thank you, the participants, for accepting the invitation in the affirmative. And let me also thank Mr. Blackett, his team, the facilitators who came from overseas, for ensuring that this workshop came to fruition. They must be commended and they must be congratulated.
The other facilitator is Robert Haywood, Program Officer at CDEMA. The participants of the workshop include representatives from the Agriculture, Community Development, Customs and Excise, Finance, Health, Tourism, Education, Disaster Management, Physical Planning, Public Works, Social Development, and Nevis Water Departments, the Nevis Air and Seaports Authority, Alexandra Hospital, Lime, Nevis Electricity Company, Nevis Housing and Land Development Corporation, the Royal St. Christopher and Nevis Police Force, Red Cross, the Community Emergency Response Teams, and the Adventist Disaster Response Agency. The workshop will conclude on Friday, January 30th. I am Fredecia Liburd reporting.
Thanks, Fredecia. In more local news,
people, of course, would be their own judges in terms of whether they are satisfied with the administration thus far and our efforts at restoring decency and good governance to Nevis. But I believe that there's some significant achievements that we can speak to.
That was the Deputy Premier, the Honorable Mark Brantley. He recently spoke to the Nevis Newscast about the NIA's accomplishments since taking office in 2013. Minister Brantley is the minister responsible for social development, health, tourism, and culture.
I'm very proud that as a senior minister with responsibility for social welfare, we were able to roll out one of our major programs and campaign promises, which is to provide free utilities, electricity and water, to our residents who are over the age of 65 and who are living on their own with a fixed income. And many, many divisions across the length and breadth of the island have benefited from that program, and we are very pleased to continue to demonstrate our commitment to our seniors. We have rolled out many other programs through the Ministry of Social Development, where we are working with families, we're working with disaffected youth, we're working with parents. We're seeking, of course, to get a better society.
Minister Brantley says, by all accounts, the Ministry of Tourism has been quite a success.
Our three approaches have been more and more promotion, and Nevis has now seen itself promoted in virtually every major magazine and newspaper in our target markets. We have also worked on airlift, and I'm very pleased that with the addition of Tradewind and Seaborne Airlines to join Cape Air, we have actually moved the seat capacity in Nevis from 14 seats per day to Sangwang, where I met it, to just about 100 seats per day now. And so the issue of accessibility via Sangwang has been solved. We have now also introduced to Antigua Caribbean helicopters, which, notwithstanding the name helicopters, they really fly in planes. And so we've introduced that service for the bridge to Antigua. Of course, St. Kitts continues to be a major hub for us, but we're also saying to the people of Nevis and our visitors that they have the option. The third leg, of course, has been accommodation. And I'm very pleased that the Mount Nevis has started its expansion. They're well underway. They're going to double the size of that property when they're done. Paradise Palms in the Paradise area, they've just broken ground. That's going to be 225 rooms. And Paradise Beach, which was formerly Villa Paradiso, is just about to reopen after a complete refit. We have other projects that will be coming on stream this year, but certainly those three are projects that we're quite proud of because we have partnered very closely with them.
He also outlined achievements in the area of cultural development.
I think that Culturama 40 was an amazing success story. We coupled it, of course, with our first ever homecoming celebration, and Nevisians abroad responded in overwhelming numbers. All the venues were packed, the events were exciting, and one of the things we were able to do was to disperse Culturama throughout the villages. We had something at Herbert's Beach, and people really enjoyed the fact that they had different options available to them. And so I think that, by all accounts, Culturama 40 not only generated a lot of economic activity, but people had a good time, which was very important. And so insofar as culture is concerned, we've continued to progress. We had stagings of Hamlet here, which is unprecedented. We're using the NEPAC facility far more for events, and we're really trying to rejuvenate and revitalize our culture and our art forms.
In terms of health, Minister Brantley says the NIA has been working hard to upgrade the island's facilities.
Our hospital has been the beneficiary of new equipment, which we're very pleased, state-of-the-art equipment. We have purchased there and have available now for the service of the people of Nevis. We are about to embark on the construction of a diagnostic wing, which will be the largest single additional infrastructural development that the hospital has seen in many years. In addition, we had a nursing shortage. We have rehired retired nurses, but also we are training many young nurses who are coming into the system now, and so we're very pleased as well that we are dealing with that shortage. We have opened the first ever rural pharmacy at the Brown Hill Health Center, and we're using that as a pilot program when we can see how it works and whether we roll it out in other areas. Across the length and breadth of the island, I believe that we've done well. We've continued with our promotions and asking people to live healthier lifestyles.
Deputy Premier, Honorable Mark Brantley. January is the World Health Organization designated Cervical Cancer Awareness Month, and the Health Promotion Unit is using the observance to educate women about the disease. Health educator Chevene Nisbet recently gave us some insight.
Cervical cancer is an unknown type of cancer that develops in a woman's cervix. The cervix is the entrance to the womb from the vagina. Almost all cases of cervical cancer are caused by the human papillomavirus HPV. HPV is a very common virus that often spreads during sex. There are more than 100 different types of HPV, many of which are harmless. However, some types of HPV can disrupt the normal functioning of the cells of the cervix and can eventually trigger the onset of cancer.
Cervical cancer is often diagnosed in middle-aged women, with half of the patients diagnosed being between the ages of 35 and 55.
Risk factors or causes for cervical cancer are human papillomavirus HPV, family history of cervical cancer, age, sexual and reproductive history, socioeconomic status, HIV infection, in utero DES exposure, long-term use of oral contraceptives, having many sexual partners, smoking, taking birth control pills, and engaging in early sexual contact.
The health educator also spoke to the symptoms of cervical cancer.
Early cervical cancers usually don't cause symptoms. When the cancer grows larger, women may notice abnormal vaginal bleeding, bleeding that occurs between regular menstrual periods, bleeding after sexual intercourse, douching, or a pelvic exam, menstrual periods that last longer and are heavier than before, bleeding after going through menopause. Women also notice increased vaginal discharge, sometimes with an odor, pelvic pain, or pain during sex.
Nisbet reminds that pap smears to detect cervical cancer cells can be done at community health centers around the island.
The days and times are as follows: Charlestown Health Center on Fridays from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m., Brown Hill Health Center Thursdays from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m., Gingerland Health Center on Thursdays from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m., Butler's Health Center Wednesdays from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m., and Combermere Health Center on Wednesdays from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m.
Nisbet's discourse on cervical cancer, including treatment options, will be aired in its entirety in Monday's edition of NTV's Health Matters. Stay with us. We'll have more local news after this break.
You are watching NTV!
Welcome back. A former principal of the Charlestown Secondary School has died. Gaston Fox passed away on January 12th at the Providence Hospital in Washington, D.C. at the age of 97. Originally from Guyana, Fox migrated to St. Kitts and Nevis in the 1940s. When he came to Nevis, the island's lone secondary school was owned and privately managed, but in 1949, the government built the first public secondary school to enable every student to sit the Cambridge or General Certificate examination. In 1950, Fox was appointed the first principal of CSS, serving there for 7 years before returning to Guyana. He is said, however, to have left an indelible mark in the field of education in Nevis. CSS was the first co-ed secondary school, and though this proved to be a challenge for Fox, he is said to have handled it with guided codes and ethics. The results under Fox was astounding. It is often said that Fox was not just an educator, but a father figure to his students. He maintained that at all times they must uphold the CSS motto, Industria et Virtute. His students say the values he taught them were very important to them then and still are today. His student successes include Deputy Governor General His Honor Eustace John, Dr. Linton Liburd, Queen's Counsel Theodore Hobson, and a senior officer in the St. Kitts and Nevis Customs and Excise Department, Keithley Hector. Gaston Fox is the famous patron of the Charlestown Secondary School's Fox's House, Blue House. A number of students have been awarded for their participation in the activities for CARICOM Energy Conservation and Efficiency Week 2014. The activities on Nevis were coordinated by the CARICOM Secretariat, the NIA's Ministry of Natural Resources and Environment, and the Nevis Electricity Company Nevlec Limited. They focused on the theme, Achieving Climate and Economic Resilience Through Sustainable Energy.
We launched 4 very critical but important aspects as competitions. One was a photo competition, and that is we had a Facebook page, and anybody, it doesn't matter who you were, you could have uploaded any photo that you thought was in keeping with the theme. And then we had also a Facebook competition where, not a Facebook, a quiz competition where we launch quizzes every single day. And so members of the public would have gone on and answered the questions and so on. And today we are also awarding that winner. But most importantly, and the one that culminates today, is that we had an essay competition in all of the schools in Nevis, all of the primary schools, and the secondary schools. The topic, the benefits of renewable energy in the economy of Nevis.
That was NEVLEC General Manager Jervin Swanston addressing Friday's luncheon and awards ceremony for the competition's participants. Also present was Permanent Secretary Ernest Stapleton, who described Nevis's activities for CARICOM Energy Week as a success.
Let me say that the CARICOM Secretariat, for the first time, made financial contribution or financial input to the hosting of the CARICOM Energy Week here on the island of Nevis. And this money was able to be used in the distribution of information to create the awareness that is needed. And this information included printing of tokens and having the exhibition that Mr. Swanson spoke of in the heart of Charlestown, where we were able to engage the general public on information that would be important for energy conservation and energy in general. And that money was able to be used for the purchase of the prizes that will be distributed here shortly.
Each school which submitted a finalist was awarded $300. In addition to this, Gingerland Secondary School student Roger Williams, who won the secondary school essay competition, was awarded a 10-inch Android tablet. For winning the primary school essay competition, Charlestown Primary School student Kaylin Williams received a 7-inch Android tablet. Meanwhile, Principal Education Officer Palsy Wilkin thanked the organizers for involving the island's students and congratulated the 2 winners and the other participants for doing their best. That's it for tonight's edition of the Nevis Newscast. Thank you for viewing. Good night.